So we had another speaker talking about the 1960s and the way that student protest could explode at that moment because, in part, of mass communications, visual media, and the ability for students who were protesting in different countries to share information and to share aesthetics. And I'm wondering if that is part of why there is this explosion of protest art seemingly in this moment, or if it's tied to other things like the civil rights movement, like modernism, um, or if in fact I'm actually just looking at a very tiny sample size, and these women were really focused on this issue. Um,
Well, I mean, the 60s are just such a fascinating decade. The long 60s, the end of the 50s into the 70s, it's such a fascinating time in the art world and also large in a large sense. Um, because really in the 60s, what a lot of artists are doing are working abstractly. They're working with sculpture and works of performance and things like that. So these artists, Ringgold and Stevens and Browne, in some ways are working in a more traditional medium, in oil painting. They certainly were, um, looking to other forms of media. They were, listening. They talk about listening to the radio in their studios, watching things on television, reading newspapers. May Stevens actually did some paintings and drawings based on newspaper photographs that she found. Um, I think for these 3 artists, it really was the civil rights, the anti-war, and the growing feminist, women's liberation movement that really propelled them.